Okay, so we'll start now. So welcome everybody to the Elixir Partnership webinar on the current supply chain and packaging challenges. So my name is Mike Turner from ECMA. ECMA is the European Carton Makers Association. So before we start, I just want to go through a couple of house rules and do's and don'ts. So we have a chat function on this webinar, so please use the chat function for asking questions or making any points to the presenters. Probably best if we steer clear from chatting amongst the audience on the chat function. And then with question and answers, you can ask questions and answers on that function. We're going to cover those questions both during the webinar, and then we'll have a session at the end. And any questions that are mixed, I know the guys from Elixir Partnership will come back to you and answer all your questions fully. So before I hand over to the presenters from the Elixir Partnership, I just wanted to cover some sustainability attributes of folding cartons and carton board. So it's certainly the right product if you want your company and brand to be using the most sustainable and circular type of packaging. So just giving you a few facts that you may or may not know. So between, obviously, the raw material for folding cartons is trees, and the forests in Europe are getting bigger every year. So there's about a 2% net growth per year. So that equates between 2005 and 2020, the European forest grown by the equivalent area, can you believe it, of 1,500 football pitches per day. That's an area the size of Switzerland since 2005. So it's good to know that we're using a raw material coming from forestry, and those forests are getting bigger and bigger. And then also, if you're using folding cartons, you're also using the type of fiber packaging that is recycled more than any other packaging. So more than glass, more than metal, and more than plastic. So 85% of fiber packaging is currently recycled. And over 90% of the fiber used in European fiber packaging is originating from within Europe, so from sustainably managed forests in Europe. And especially this week, we've heard with the report coming from the United Nations about how we need to reduce and manage carbon emissions. But did you know that European forests today are sequestering, they're absorbing 10% of carbon emissions? So the bigger those forests get, the more carbon they're emitting. And by using fiber packaging, you're contributing towards those forests getting bigger and absorbing more carbon. And then just the final point, again, with fiber packaging, those fiber packaging, including folding cartons, can be recycled over 25 times. So it really is the truly circular material. So there's a few facts I thought I'd kick off with regarding sustainability. And now on to the main show. So I'd like to start by handing over to Tom Seeney. Tom is the sales director for the Elixir Partnership. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Mike. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar today. I will give you just a brief intro to Elixir because we're quite a unique business. But before your eyes start rolling and you turn off, just give me literally a couple of minutes. Elixir are an EOT business. That means we're an employee-owned trust. Each of the staff have a vested interest in the company. We've been established about 30 years. And it's made up of 5 divisions. First off, we have Elixir Creative. There we are a packaging, design and creative agency who design our products across numerous substrates, not just cardboard. Then we've got Elixir Packaging. Elixir Packaging is a top 10 independent carton manufacturer in the UK. We manufacture around about 350 to 400 million cartons per annum. And we do that using litho and digital technology. Then we have Elixir International. Elixir International, we manage and deliver complex packaging products that we cannot manufacture on site. And these are produced globally amongst our strategic partners that we've built up over about the past 10 years. Then we've got Elixir Co-Packing. Here we do dried food filling and blending. as well as contract packing. So recently we've added recipe development, ingredient sourcing and fulfillment here. And then we have Alexia Brands. Alexia Brands is a branded gift and design and development team. If you check out Todd Hunter, it's one of the brands that we manage and trade online and in store. Simply put, the business is a turnkey solution. We can design it, we can make it if it's made from cardboard, we can find it, we can pack it, and then we can sell it back to the consumer. So I'll just give you a brief overview of the agenda today. First off, it'll be the impact of COVID. The COVID safety measures that we know has caused all businesses with staff self-isolating, impacting in manufacturing and administration functions. COVID saw a huge increase in demand in e-commerce over the past 18 months, which I'm sure we're all aware of. Household recycling has been impacted with reduced collections, meaning that obviously raw material is not reaching the recycling destinations that it needs to. Businesses have changed their route to market over the past 18 months, turning from traditional retail to e-commerce. And as an indicator of this, in Christmas 2020, the post office recorded over 200 million additional deliveries versus the previous year. Many of these would have been put into corrugated boxes, as you can imagine. We'll have the impact of COVID, which David will allude to in his presentation part. But leading up to Brexit, one of the strategies employed by many companies in the UK was to stockpile raw materials, which put pressure on the mills and our suppliers. We all experienced the joys of importing and exporting products over the past 18 months, and the additional paperwork it's borne on us. And then we've got the impact of antiplastic, which Adam and David will share about again. I'm sure it's a contentious subject to all, I know it is, but consumer demand and pressure continues to drive the change from single-use plastic to more sustainable alternatives such as board. So, if there are any questions from anyone before I pass on?
Tom, we've got a couple of questions. So, how many tons of board do Alexia use each year?
We use about 7,000 tons a year, Mike, across numerous substrates. So it would be virgin fibre. We don't use as much recycled now, but predominantly virgin fibre boards.
Okay, thanks for that. And another question came in. So you were talking about COVID safety measures, Tom, and I think we all know how tough it's been and how challenging it's been keeping a business and keeping the wheels turning during the COVID challenges. So did Alexia, did you have to shut down during the pandemic, or did you manage to keep going?
No, we've worked throughout the pandemic. We were lucky enough to work throughout the pandemic. We're a 24-hour by 6 operation. So we had key worker status because obviously we deal majority in the food market, but we employed very, very strict safety measures on site, managing throughout various different scenarios. We obviously had people shielding, self-isolating. Most administrative staff either worked off-site, but all of the manufacturing teams were on site, getting the product out the door, and we've actually seen an increase in our production of about 20% since we started. So lots of challenges.
Amazing. In spite of all those headwinds, production increases of 20% is great performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hats off to the guys.
Thanks, Tom.
So now I'm going to pass on to David.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks, Tom. I'm David Palmer. I'm the Commercial Director of the Packaging Division. So my role is pretty much at the coalface at the moment, given the current situation. I'll be giving a brief overview of the causes of where we are now, and also what we can expect in the future. So there have been a number of factors that have aligned and come together over the last year or so, which has brought about the current board supply challenges, some of which will be covered in more detail later on by some of my colleagues. Tom alluded to the anti-plastics policy. This is one of the things that has massively increased demand for non-plastic and particularly fiberboard products. We've seen a huge growth in particularly fruit punnets, whether it be tomatoes, strawberries, that kind of thing, moving away from traditional plastic punnets. And equally, our Halo Pack format solution has seen a large growth as well, as trays have moved out of CPET and BPET into a more recyclable and sustainable format. So in Q3, Q4 of last year, the markets started to see a shortage of recycled fibre availability, which, again, as Tom mentioned, was predominantly caused by the change in the public's buying habits as a result of the pandemic. So the rise in e-commerce and the surge in demand for corrugated products then was sucking in a lot of the recycled fibres that were on the market, because they're key components of making up the constituent parts of corrugated outers. This, in a very short space of time, obviously extended the lead time as material became less and less available. And again, this was in a very, very short time frame, a couple of months, it just shot out. And that then led to the inevitable increase in prices. So in certain cases, we've seen increases of up to 20% in the last 7 months alone. So naturally, converters had to try and find a solution to this, who were using significant amounts of recycled fiberboard. And the obvious place to go was the virgin fibre mills throughout the world. And obviously, that then impacted on the order books for those mills, and therefore the resulting extended lead times and price increases. So the situation moved from recycled fibres into virgin fibres without the recycled fibre situation diminishing. And as Tom mentioned, we saw an element of panic buying in the early stages, where people could see there were going to be some issues on the horizon, and flooded the mills with large volumes of orders, which the mills then programmed in, which further extended the lead times. So in addition to this, we had COVID, as we all know, Brexit, and subsequent custom delays as a result of Brexit, which basically exacerbated the supply restrictions and changed the way that some of the mills dealt with the UK. As an example, any mills that didn't have their own transport and subcontracted it would no longer deliver part loads into the UK. So where we might be able to buy 2 tons from a company in Holland, for example, we would now have to buy 22 tons or not buy anything at all. This is partly because the global shortage of drivers, which is hitting the news pretty much every day now, not just affecting board, but supplies to supermarkets, basically anything that needs transporting. A shortage of trailers as a result of that. And also with the COVID situation, with the shifting restrictions between the UK and the rest of the world, there was a serious concern that drivers would get stuck in the UK either through Brexit and port delays, or through having to self-isolate. So therefore, people were less willing to come over to the UK. In addition to this, just to make it a perfect storm, the large producers of what we call deep sea board, particularly in China, South America, and the US, dramatically reduced their exports to focus on domestic supply. Now, this was due to spiralling transport costs, shortage of containers. We've seen a huge increase in the cost of a container, say from China, which has gone 5 times plus higher than it was before. And basically it rendered exporting board, in this case, to anything outside of their domestic markets as commercially unviable. So basically that's what's come together to put us in the situation we are in now. So where does that leave us now? And do we have any view on the short to medium term future of this situation? As things stand today, the demand and supply imbalance remains in place. There's still too much demand chasing not enough capacity. This is evidenced by most European mills in particular have now closed their making programs for the remainder of 2021 and are not taking on new business in that period because they are honouring existing contracts with existing customers. So the fact that the mills can sell pretty much every single tonne they make has therefore restricted alternative supplies that used to be available. Now, one of the things that mills used to do was produce board in real form, hold it in stock, to then be sheeted to a bespoke size, which would offer a shorter lead time but at a higher price. But now, because they haven't got the luxury of holding that stock, those supply lines have been closed pretty much. And when stuff does come into stock, it goes instantly. So that shorter lead time option forced all of us to move on to the next available source, which is from merchants. So basically merchants buy in specific sheet sizes from the mills and then sell it off the shelf in pretty much pallet quantities. Now, obviously, everybody turned to the merchants, then pretty much depleted the stocks that they had. And because most merchants have now been put on allocation by the supplying mills, their stocks are running down quite significantly. An indication of this is most merchants used to publish online their stock levels, sheet sizes, how much they had in stock. All of these now have been taken down, and it's literally on an application basis only now. So there's no more kind of looking at a merchant stock online and just placing a PO, which we used to be able to do. Now we have to check what they've got, and they come back with anything that they can offer us that might be suitable. Consequently, the pricing of board has fluctuated hugely. A lot of the pricing depends on what you can get hold of when and how quickly. So the guarantees of prices have now pretty much become so unstable. We're no longer in a position necessarily to be able to guarantee what prices we'll be paying. So all negative potentially, but we are definitely finding ways around this. Alexia has always been pretty creative in the way it's dealt with its suppliers. My colleague Michelle will cover this in more detail later on in the presentation, but it's going to see a change in how we deal with our suppliers and how our suppliers deal with us. It's going to rely on much stronger relationships and collaboration and cooperation to ensure that we secure supply ongoing for all our customers. So with that's my element covered. Before I hand over to Cyril, who will outline more of the impact of e-commerce, are there any questions that would like to be answered now?
Yeah, we've had a few questions come in. Thanks for that, David. Sounds like you've got a few headwinds you're facing there. So first question, with regards board supply, Tom had already said you guys are buying around about 7,000 tonnes per year. What's the board split between Europe and rest of the world with you guys?
It's about approximately 30% we buy from outside of Europe.
Okay, so 70% within Europe. Understood.
70% within Europe, yeah, that's right.
Okay, and then we're just hearing then about the challenges with recycled fibre. So do you see changes in the supply of recycled or the supply from recycled board mills? And can you see this in the short medium term lessening the pressure on the virgin mills? There's
early signs. I mean, germs of signs, if you like, that the pressure on the supply of recycled fibre is easing. It's certainly not anything to hang a hat on at the moment. It's something that we're all watching, obviously, very closely to see how that develops. So at the moment, there are early signs, but again, as I said, it's not anything that is going to happen quickly and overnight, but fingers crossed. Okay, hopefully into the medium term then. Yes, yeah, definitely. Good job. Thanks, David. That's no more questions at the moment. So over to Cyril.
Cheers. Thank you, David. So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for nice to meet you all. That seems to be the new normal now. So I will just start by talking a bit about me. Who am I? Very French, as you will be able to hear. So I mainly handle new business development at Alexia across the whole partnership. So that's the 5 divisions that Tom was mentioning before. Anything from recipe development to packaging design, manufacturing, sourcing, ambient food co-packing or fulfillment as well. Okay. So what is e-commerce to start with? We have seen a huge lift, as previously mentioned, in e-commerce at Alexia with our customers as well. This is why we wanted also to focus on that new distribution channel because there is a huge lift happening in the marketplace. So what is e-commerce to start with? E-commerce is simply, to keep it simple, that's when you buy something online and you get delivered straight to your place. So you don't have to physically attend to any shop. You just have to be on your cell phone or on your laptop. You buy the stuff online, you get delivered the same day or the next working day. So pretty easy, pretty convenient, and pretty quick as well. Okay. So we have seen a massive shift in e-commerce during the pandemic. Again, so to give you a few key numbers for you to put that to understand a bit more. So the e-commerce growth before the pandemic, so in 2019 up to March 2020, was 15%, 1.5, so 15%. And during the pandemic now, so from March 2020 to 2021 now, I will just leave a few seconds for you to have a quick guess. Just gonna count until 1, 2, or 3. So before 15% before the pandemic, now that's 45%. So we have seen again a huge lift with our customers for e-commerce. So that's 60% within 2 years only. Okay. Why e-commerce now? So as we were mentioning before, that's pretty convenient, pretty safe as well. We all know that we were stuck at home. Some people had to self-isolate. So we were having some safety measures in place as well. So lots of people decided to try e-commerce, try to buy online directly. Yeah, just more safe, pretty easy and convenient again. Okay. So we have also seen that e-commerce is much better for brands to have a deeper connection with their consumers. So I'm sure all of you here will agree that e-commerce is so much better to get a better feedback from your consumers. So if your consumers buy online, they can give you some feedback on the product, on the next NPDs they would like as well. So that's really putting that consumer in the middle, at the center of a strategic decision for your brand. So this is where it's working very well for brand owners as well. Okay, so now where is it happening? So e-commerce is happening pretty much everywhere. David was mentioning our Hello Pack before, so that's chilled frozen products, fresh produce as well, ambient products, so pretty much everywhere. I just wanted to focus on one specific category which works very well, which is the meal kit subscription. So the meal kit subscription had a growth of 114% during the pandemic, which is again a huge increase and a huge lift. I've noticed a few key meal kit companies here. I won't mention any name, but I'm sure they will agree that they had a massive, huge lift on production within the past year or two. Okay, so what do we expect now post-pandemic for the e-commerce market? So the e-commerce will still be very high in 2022. That's probably going to be worth 21 billion pounds. Just to put that into context, so that's food e-commerce. And the e-commerce market in total is 80 billion pounds. So that's only 20%. So lots of opportunities for growing here in a post-pandemic world. And £1 of every 11 pounds will be bought online on grocery. So that's less than 10%. So again, lots of opportunity to grow beyond as well. So what challenges does it bring now? I will finish with that. I'm probably running out of time a little bit. Sorry, guys. So because people used to buy in bulk, they used to go to restaurants, pubs, etc., etc. Everything was bought in bulk, really. So that meant less cartons to produce. Now, if you buy on Amazon or Deliveroo or wherever, you are gonna buy more stuff, so more packaging. So it means more carton to produce as well. So the local authorities are struggling to keep up with the recycling. Because if you live in Brighton or in London, the local recycling scheme will be a bit different. So it means that your packaging that you have bought could end up in your garages. And it means that this will also create a shortage in the carton industry. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up everything on e-commerce. If you guys got any question, just let me know. I'm just aware I've been run out of time a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good for time, Cyril. But we do have a question. Yes. We do have a question. So you mentioned in your presentation about fresh produce and ready meals and ambient products. So how do you focus on specific markets for fulfillment? So how does this work with the other arms of the Alexia partnership, which have previously been mentioned?
That's a very relevant question. Thank you, Mike, for that. So we are focused in ambient and dry food products on e-commerce. So this is where we work alongside our customers to deliver directly to their consumers. So we were mentioning recipe development before. So we can actually create any recipes with them. We can manufacture and find all the packaging required. We can produce it at Alexia because we are a dry food blending and filling co-packer. And we can also deliver direct to their consumers.
Okay, good job. So the takeaway from your presentation is everyone needs to go into their garage tonight and get all that fibre packaging in their garage down to the recycling plant. But yeah, thanks, Cyril. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Mike. So I will now head over to Adam. If there is no more questions, we will talk about the impact of anti-plastic policies.
Okay, thank you, Cyril. Thanks, Cyril, and good afternoon to everyone who's joined us today. My name is Adam Dean. I'm a sales manager at Alexia Packaging. Today, I'm going to be touching on the plastic packaging policies of our customers and retailers, which in turn is currently adding to the supply pressures and capacity constraints within the carton board industry. As we know, this has been a hot topic for the last 3 years or so, with all major retailers pledging to remove unnecessary single-use plastic packaging and reduce plastic packaging where possible. To understand why this is, we can look at a few figures that WRAP have published. So in the UK, plastic packaging accounts for nearly 70% of our plastic waste, making plastic the primary focus of the UK Plastic Pact. In 2019, 2.4 million tonnes of plastic packaging was placed onto the UK market. That's compared to around 650,000 tonnes of carton board that is purchased in the UK each year. Flexible plastics in the UK accounts for about 25% of consumer packaging, yet we only recycle about 4% of that. Again, compared to fibre packaging, which we recycle about 85% of, which Mike mentioned earlier, as it is generally an easy substrate to recycle. Many businesses have chosen to switch from plastic to carton board and other paper or pulp products, which has added to the growing supply pressures on fibre products in the short term. To give some perspective on this, just a 5% switch from plastic to carton board in the UK would roughly require a 20% increase in output from board mills for the UK market. The industry is investing to future-proof supply by increasing capacity to cope with the increased demand, but multiple pressures combined, all hitting at once, has resulted in shortages of supply short term until the market settles, I guess. If we got next slide, please. So here we just have a simple diagram on the sustainability of board, starting with gaining the raw materials from sustainably managed forests. The logs are then cut up and further processed into wood chippings. These chippings are then either mechanically or chemically turned into pulp, which is then processed through a board machine to manufacture reels of board. This board is then sold onto converters such as ourselves to manufacture printed folded cartons in the main. Once packed, sold at retailers and used, the consumers would then dispose of the cartons in their recycling bins. This recycling is then collected and processed for manufacturing recycled carton board for use on producing further folding cartons, thus creating a circular economy. So if you've got any questions on this area, it'd be nice to hear from you.
Yeah, we do, Adam. Yeah, we've got a couple of questions coming. So how is virgin fibre board, how is it considered to be part of the circular economy?
Okay, yeah, good question. I mean, a circular economy is an aim at eliminating waste and encouraging the reuse of resources. It's never really been considered as a closed loop system, as there is a continuous input of natural resources in any circular economic system. As you mentioned before, paper can be recycled up to around 25 times. After that, the fibres will become too short to adhere to each other and will become poor quality. Therefore, we need a constant input of virgin fibre, and the fact that fibre packaging product contains 100% virgin fibre, it does not mean that it's not a circular economy item, because that virgin fibre is then recycled as part of a circular economic system and is part of natural resource feeding to create that circular economy. Okay, so circular, virgin and recycled fibres are complementing each other, and they're both aligning with the circular economy. Okay, thanks for that. Yeah. And the other question, yeah, that's a good one. I don't even know the answer to this one. How long would it take for a new board mill to come on stream from scratch? It varies, but you'd probably be looking at 5 years plus. You know, it takes a lot of planning to get these things, and the size of the the size of the machines alone, never mind the whole system of processing the materials. Yeah, it takes a long time, so it's not a quick fix, but it is something that the industry are working on to create, to increase capacity longer term.
Good job. Thanks, Adam.
No problem. I'll now pass on to my colleague Michelle for the next section.
Thanks, Adam.
No
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle. I'm part of the sales team at Alexia. Been here for over 2 years now. So far, so good. Other than a global pandemic and industry-wide material shortage, things seem to be going pretty well. So I suppose I've got the good bit to talk about, which is how we've been dealing with the issue and the solutions that we've come up with so far to prevent disruption to our customers as much as possible. So to start, we have been working with our customers to vendor manage their larger production runs and where we can obtain forecasts as far in advance as possible. And that's enabled us to advise when material might need underwriting in order for us to place orders for board without it affecting deliveries. As the team's mentioned so far, and obviously why we're all here today, board availability is changing by the day. So we are constantly in touch with our material suppliers to keep up to date with what's available, what the current lead times are, and that's helping us to manage customers' expectations. We do know that not everybody can forecast so far in advance. So where we haven't been able to do this, we've looked to see if we can change things like die layouts to meet stock material sheet sizes, or where customers are able to amend cartons slightly to make them fit what is available. We've also managed to source and trial a food safe coating, which can be applied on press to standard folding box board. And that provides an adequate barrier, particularly for bakery products. So for customers that use specific PE coated or grease resistant boards, it's opened up options for them. And although it does require 2 passes on the press, the on cost is actually small because PE and grease proof boards are significantly more expensive anyway. And another benefit of using this coating on standard folding box board is that in theory, there's no MOQ, whereas PE and grease proof boards usually require a minimum of about 5 tons to be ordered. So personally, obviously, although we are in this struggle, I find it a breath of fresh air at Alexia. Because of the strategic partnerships that we've built with so many of the board suppliers and the merchants, it gives us a lot of options. Places that I've worked at previously have only bought material from less than a handful of mills. So I can imagine with that restriction, it's becoming increasingly more difficult for companies like that to manage the situation. Especially as a lot of mills aren't taking on new customers at the moment because of the situation. However, because we have got those options and those relationships, where our customers have been able to be flexible with board calipers or slightly changing, looking at alternative grade options, we've been able to shop around more, and that's enabled us to fulfill orders on time, or fill orders on time and use alternative boards when necessary. We've also found with some cartons that where we've been able to reduce production runs to around like 100,000 cartons or less, we've been able to get material in quicker or use some of our own stock. And the current situation's actually prompted in some cases to review what board our customers are using, which has actually been a good opportunity to lightweight packaging if lower calipers prove to be fit for purpose. So yeah, basically in short, I think ultimately it's been about being transparent with customers and keeping them up to date with what's happening in the industry, and then working with them individually on each project to put plans in place in order to prevent disruption as much as possible. And I do think that that's been appreciated by the clients that we work with. So yeah, I'm pretty proud to say that so far during this industry-wide issue, that we've been able to fulfill orders and continue to take on new business, which I know some other manufacturers haven't. And that's not a case at all of we're like the only ones that haven't been affected by it. Everybody has. But as I mentioned, because of the strategic relationships that Alexia's built over the years, and because of the work that is constantly going on behind the scenes to find solutions and options and ways that we can work with our customers through this, we really have been able to keep going, and we'll continue to be innovative and think outside the box when it comes to solutions, to dealing with the board shortage until things return to normal. So yeah, I know that Ruth has got some bits to add.
So just to clarify, Michelle, so Alexia, you're dealing with more board suppliers and a wider range of suppliers just to make sure your customers have always got a guaranteed supply of carton board for your customers.
As best we can, yeah. We do have a lot of options. Like I say, in my experience where I've worked previously, we've only had sort of a handful of mills or board suppliers that we've used, whereas at Alexia there are lots of options. And when I first started, it was about learning about all those different grades and different brands of boards and what they do. And I found that really interesting. And during this sort of situation that we've found ourselves in, it's obviously been
Good
really
job. Great.
that we've got those strategic relationships in place.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, Ruth's got some bits to add, I think, about solutions, and Ruth's in our digital department.
Good afternoon. I'm Ruth Lasher. I head up the digital department of Alexia, and I joined the team last November. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about what we do and how we've been affected by the board challenges and our solutions. So as mentioned by Tom, digital print is part of the Alexia partnership. The digital printing department was introduced into Alexia in 2016 as an investment to open up the packaging market and create new opportunities for partnership growth. Digital printing is used to target smaller production runs in a short space of time that wouldn't be cost or time effective using the traditional litho printing method. So it can be used for companies that want to test the market with new products or have limited edition flavors or multiple SKUs. The key benefits are short lead times, no plate costs, fast make ready, shorter production runs, no MOQs, and speed to market. So digital printing offers short lead times due to the minimal print setup required. It simplifies the printing process, so there's no press make ready needed. There are less steps involved in the printing process, and as a result, the final product can be delivered quicker. So the benefits of short lead times means that customers don't have to hold as much stock. So we can provide low volume orders quickly, which we kind of notice a large amount of small top-up orders before the Christmas rush, so we can fulfill them quite promptly. So back to the issue at hand, the current board shortage challenges haven't really hugely affected our department due to the fact we require less stock and predominantly just use 2 board types. We have seen some slightly longer lead times with one particular stock board. However, as we purchase from the merchant in smaller quantities rather than the mill, we've been able to hold enough stock to cover our customers and new orders. So this has allowed us to pick up any shortfall for our litho customers in between their main production runs during this challenging time. Before I hand back over to Tom, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. The questions are coming in for you, Ruth. So is digital print, is that suitable for direct food contact packaging?
Yep, so our cartons are food safe. We would assess each product individually based on the contents. When printing on the outside of the carton, we wouldn't really see any issues with print migration. But again, it depends on the internal product. So each product would be handled with a bespoke approach. But yeah, in short, it is food safe.
Okay. And are there any issues switching to digital to fill the gaps in production runs? So any issues with quality, color management, those sort of issues?
Mm-hmm. So essentially, there wouldn't be any issues. We do offer a high quality print. We have a great technical team who are able to look at each product individually and offer the best solution to transfer to the digital print method. We also use a 4-color process and color matching, and we use a smaller press, which could limit us on sheet size, but as mentioned, our structural team are able to work with each individual product, and we can find a profile solution for each.
Okay, well, I'm just going to ask one more question, Ruth, because we're running a little bit short on time. Can you use artwork that's traditionally used for litho cartons? Can you use the same artwork for digital?
Yeah, so the artwork is transferable. Digital printing simulates a CMYK matching process. So we match Pantones using a bridge book to get as close match as possible to the current artwork produced for litho. Yeah. In short, yeah.
Good. Okay, that's a yes. Thanks, Ruth. Okay, good job. So that's the presentations from the 6 guys at Alexia Partnerships. Just in terms of general questions. So I'm not sure who's going to answer this, but there's rumours that some companies at the moment, because of the challenges being seen, are not taking on any new business because of what's happening. So what do you think about this? Is this the approach of Alexia Partners? I'm not sure who's going to answer that one.
So I don't think it's. I've heard the rumours. I don't know who it is, Mike, but no, it isn't. It isn't applicable to Alexia. What we are looking at is We are obviously managing our existing customers. We've had a lot of our customers for 10 years plus. So, and we value those relationships. So we wouldn't take new business on and jeopardize existing business. But obviously we know that we've got additional capacity if we need it. The raw material is the challenge. If we can find raw material and we can assist customers, which we have done, then we will do.
Okay, thanks, Tom. And then we have another question I'm going to read here. I'm just conscious also of the time. So, so this is a perfect storm for the carton board industry. So massive increases in volumes and this trajectory, the transition away from plastic. But if this is the future, how is the industry going to keep up? That was from Fiona, that question, Fiona Dobson.
Yeah, I'll take that question. Thanks for the question, Fiona. I think it's important to know that, you know, we've known that the switch away from plastic has been coming over the last 2 or 3 years and has been happening. So the industry has been preparing for that. However, we didn't prepare for the pandemic, and the main issue that we've got at the moment is through e-commerce. That's where it all started. So obviously switching away from plastic is adding to the pressure, but hopefully as we come out of the pandemic and any issues with Brexit eases, hopefully sometime next year it will ease the pressures on the e-commerce, and recycled pulp will come back in terms of the supply there, which will get us back to the position that the industry planned for, I guess, a couple of years ago. So short term, obviously it's adding to the pressure, but hopefully longer term we can get back on track with the plans that we had before the pandemic.
Okay, I'm just seeing, do we have any other questions? Yeah, has this crisis been manufactured by the mills? Not sure who wants to take that one. Interesting question.
I'll take that, Mike. Straight answer is no. It's basically I mean, no company, whatever they manufacture, doesn't like to say no to people. You know, it would be like us turning around to customers saying, no, we can't supply. People don't like doing it. They're not doing it because they're trying to inflate prices or form some kind of sort of cooperation between themselves. It's just the combination of so many factors that have occurred at the same time. You know, the amount of tens of thousands of tons that were coming from China and South America and the US, who could have foreseen that would be cut? You know, that's been a major issue for the European board mills, because they've had to then take on that supply that would have come from elsewhere. So in my opinion, I don't believe it is a sort of like a self-created situation.
Okay, thanks, David. I would agree with you there as well. We have a final question, I think, but the driving factors are not going to subside. Is this, are the current lead times and availability, is that the new normal? Or are things going to get back to how it used to be? Not sure who wants to take that one. David, maybe?
Yeah, I'll take that one as well. The way that we deal with mills and suppliers will change. The dynamic, the relationship will change. Something in the equation that's causing this will need to alter for the situation to change radically. We've already mentioned that there's signs that perhaps the recycled fibre shortage is reducing. So there's hope that would then move more production over to recycled fibre boards. To ease the pressure on virgin fibre. At the end of the day, there will be ways around this. It's, you know, it might be a change in the way we deal with the markets. It might be a change in the way that we work with our customers, but we won't be in a situation where we won't be able to get any board. It simply won't happen. And I know quite a few mills now are investing in policies to increase capacity from existing machines. Now, again, that's not a 5-minute fix. It can take 6 months to a year if that capacity is to be had. So, yeah, it's short term, it's not going to change dramatically, but medium term, the way we buy may change, but it's not going to be a position where, you know, there's totally limited supply and only a few players left.
Okay, thanks, David. I think I'm going to round off now. I can see we've gone 5 or 6 minutes over time already, so thanks everyone for staying connected. Really just down to me to say thanks to Tom, to David, to Cyril, to Adam, Michelle and Ruth, Alexia Packaging, and all the team behind the scenes at Alexia Packaging. It takes quite a lot of effort putting on a webinar like this. Thanks to all of you for joining the broadcast today, and I hope you all stay fit, happy and healthy, and enjoy the remainder of August. So thanks everyone for joining us.